And for more on this, I spoke earlier to Vivian Khalaf, an attorney and chairman of the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. There are so many sick and wounded children in Gaza requiring medical evacuation. What will the United States decision to block visas mean for them?
Well, it's a devastating decision. It's a decision that is going to, it's basically a life or death decision, whether or not these children will have access to the advanced care they so urgently need and can't get at home.
Now, there's also been care offered in places like Egypt and Jordan, much closer to Gaza. Why has the United States until now been offering medical evacuations all the way from Gaza to the U.S.?
The U.S. has been offering medical evaluations for the last 30 years, ever since the establishment of PCRF. The doors of the United States have been open across administrations for over 3 decades. So the compassion and the empathy and the call for assistance has always been met with an open door policy during my experience with PCRF and even prior to my joining PCRF. So the question is, why now?
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about how things have worked up until this point, or elaborate a little bit more on what you're saying. After these children typically come to the United States for treatment, what do their lives look like? Do they stay here after?
No, when the children come to the United States and they are issued B1, B2 visas for humanitarian reasons, which is medical aid, they clearly understand, and the organization understands, that their stay in the United States is specifically for that purpose. It's a temporary stay. They're hosted here by our community in their homes. They're taken care of by hospital networks that offer pro bono services, free medical care, free surgical care. All ancillary expenses are paid for by PCRF. The treatment is complete and they return home. Of course, returning home being Gaza, is now virtually impossible, so the majority of these children are returning to Egypt, many of whom have family there, or at least a network of friends and acquaintances where they feel more comfortable living amongst than remaining here in the United States.
Now, the State Department says that it is reviewing this process. As an immigration lawyer yourself, perhaps you could also speak to what that process usually has looked like until now.
Well, if that were the case, I mean, in January, the administration issued a ban on visas for 7 countries, and they gave justifications for why they've halted the issuance of visas for these countries. The majority of these reasons were overstays, just the level of nationals from these particular countries who overstayed their visas. Other reasons that were given were that there's a lack of cooperation on the part of these governments with the United States in areas like security checks, security clearances, etc. Gaza was not amongst those 7. Gaza is not a country in and of itself, and they're using the same reasoning that they're vetting. But more disturbing is that what led to Gaza being one of these, let's call it a country, for lack of a better word, being banned from obtaining visas for their nationals, was because there was a cohort of children that were issued humanitarian visas and came to the United States for medical care. And for some reason that raised a red flag that triggered what we're seeing today. So the ban of all visas, visitors' visas for all people from Gaza, was the result of the administration wanting to look at the small group of children who were issued visas specifically for medical treatment.
Do you have a sense of the timeline we could be looking at now as the State Department reviews this process?
Well, if the process is reviewing these children, which you can count on your fingers, in my opinion and in my experience, that should take no longer than a day or 2. How long does it take a government to be able to vet and review the process of how a visa was issued to a child that came to the United States specifically for medical care? And let me tell you, most of these children have their medical care set up before they arrive in the United States. That's a prerequisite and a requirement by the U.S. State Department. When a visa is issued, that the government knows where they are coming to, for what purpose, where treatment will be had, and when they expect to depart. So all of this information should be available to the State Department, and they should be able to review it in short order. I hope it's in short order and that this decision will be reversed immediately.
Well, more than 300